Are you ready? As DX used to say in the 90s, are you ready? If you're a veteran collector, the way you used to collect is about to change. If you're a new collector, the way that you will collect will be completely different than what you thought that you knew. A new age is approaching, and actually, judging by some recent 6-scale news, which we will cover, we may actually already be there. So, as the legendary voice of the Octagon, Bruce Buffer, says, well, everyone, I'm here to report that the game of collecting 6-scale figures has officially changed. And I'm going to lay out for you 3 huge habit-altering changes and how you can take advantage of each and thrive from each of them. But in order to let you know where we're going, of course, we always need to look back to see where we came from, to put things into perspective and understand context and learn from the past. But before we do that, why don't you look back and yourself and make sure that you have been subscribed to this channel. If you haven't, why not smash that subscribe button and look forward to great content that will be coming out here and on all my other social channels listed below. And oh yeah, clicking that little thumbs up sure does go a long way, so I would certainly appreciate that too. Now, Hot Toys, as a company, is coming up on a quarter of a century of producing high-end, highly detailed collectibles for our pleasure. 25 years almost. In that time, we have seen over 700 different figures make its way into production, and there are still dozens and dozens more still to come, and at this point, no definitive end in sight. What has changed over the past 25 years is there are now several more companies, some legit and others not, that have entered the market of 1/6 scale collectibles, and let me just go on record and say that that is a very good thing. I love competition, and when done properly and through the right channels, these companies only make themselves better for you and me, the consumer. But if you are a veteran collector and got in several years ago, you know that the offerings and the way that you went about acquiring these figures has changed quite dramatically. If you're a new collector within the last 5 years, the way that you have been collecting and what has been offered up in the name of deals is about to go through a major overhaul, if not already. In short, you no longer can do what you used to do in the game of 6-scale collecting. Perhaps you got into collecting by being a bargain bin shopper and buying figures well below retail, and you maybe even got accustomed to doing that. And if so, I hope you haven't gotten too comfortable. Maybe you would like to see figures actually release before putting in an order for something to make sure that the final product was worth putting your money towards. I mean, I certainly get that, especially in today's economic climate when things are rather tight, but times are a-changin'. Are you ready? So what do I mean by that? As I said at the start of this video, I'm about to give you 3 major habit-altering changes to your collecting, and let's get started with number 1. Look, the game has changed, and we have finally entered an apparent new age of collecting. And in the end, I think we all are going to be happier for it. Believe that. And here it is. Number 1, you can't catch them all. As you may have seen in my thumbnail and in this image right here, Hot Toys has once again updated us with a coming soon tease for all the figures that are soon to be released from the pipeline. In this little photo, we have 15 brand new figures about to enter our collections, but it hasn't even been 6 months since our last tease. Should I be excited? Shouldn't you? Isn't there really anything wrong with getting excited about a new release? No, of course not, but what this is showing is that the pipeline is full. And here's the point that I'm making. As of this recording, there are 109 open releases that are set to hit our collections within the next 2 years. And no, I'm not just pulling these numbers out my ass. A lovely collector named Jurgen Schultz, forgive me if I butchered that name, has already done all the work for us. Check out some of this information that he uploads every release on Facebook. It says, after 6 months, another upcoming release post from Hot Toys for new collectors among you. As always, it will take Hot Toys months to release all the figures in the picture. At December of 2023, the last time with such a post, it took 106 days for all figures to be released. And as always, there will be releasing of figures that are not shown in the photo during that time. He goes on to say, for comparison, Hot Toys posts with upcoming releases pictured. Back on December 10th, 2020, 138 days needed for 11 figures, with an average of 12.5 days per figure. Fast forward to 2022, 65 days needed for 15 figures, on average 4.3 days per figure. 2022, in December, 96 days needed for 18 figures, an average of 1 every 5 days. And most recently, December 2023, 106 days needed for 19 figures, meaning a new figure coming out every 5.5 days. So you may be asking, what does all this mean? Well, the answer is simple. Releases for the foreseeable future are going to be coming fast and often, and you need to be deciding well in advance what you actually want and need to collect, and not buying just because of emotion, FOMO, or wanting to keep up with or impress an influencer. There's just too many products out there, and it's not sustainable for the average person, an average collector like myself, to chase every single piece. Perhaps you're sitting there with more deposits that are about to hit than you've realized, and you're realizing you may be in for a world of hurt once all these figures start releasing. Look, what's done is done. And at worst, if you need to lose a deposit to cancel something that won't fit into your collection or fit your budget, I would much rather do that, lose a deposit, than get into financial ruin with that steady snowball of new figures. But what can we do to alleviate this problem? For me, I believe it's as simple as establishing a theme for your collection and to set firm limits on what you want to add. Maybe it's only one representation of each character. Maybe it means no side characters. Perhaps it's as simple as you won't add a new piece or pre-order a new piece until you've sold an older one. Whatever works for you, obviously make that decision and stick to it, accepting and knowing that you don't have to have every new release and be in the queue for every exclusive just because it's exclusive will really add less stress on you and your wallet. Point number 2, it's a fun one, and I like to call it the bitch and switch. Let's rewind the clocks back a few weeks where everyone was complaining about how terrible this Mace Windu figure was. The sculpt was wrong, the figure was mid, and you're not adding that to your collection. But in the span of a couple weeks, something magical happened. This terrible figure went to waitlist, and now magically is selling for far above retail on several sites. How can this be? Well, that's because we collectors like to complain and make reactionary judgments before we have all the facts or have settled into our wants and needs. This especially goes for videos like this on YouTube. I get it. I myself have made videos complaining and panicking about several figures and prototypes, and those type of videos are not new to this type of collecting at all, but you need to decide for yourself what figures that you actually want. And if a character is important enough to you and you think it looks good, then by all means, add it to your shelf. Don't let someone talk you out of it because of a clickbait or rage video told you that it sucked, and through that lens, and you yourself became jaded and thought it sucked to only at the end of the video stew on your thoughts and say, well, maybe not. And before you know it, you've bitched and then you've switched and now you're overpaying. And this is not just limited to this figure. In this new age of collecting, this is about to be the norm. We collectors are going to complain, bitch, and moan, but ultimately we'll do some introspection and realize that perhaps we were either wrong, jumped to conclusions, or flat out gave into FOMO. Whatever the reason is, expect to see a lot more of it. So to avoid that, let your decisions be your own. Do your research, of course, whenever anything goes up for pre-order and actually releases, but if you were feeling it, you felt it, and no one can tell you different. And finally, I know we've covered a lot already, but hang in there with me. Number 3, the vicious cycle, meaning there will always be a new version coming. So stop waiting and just enjoy collecting the characters that you love if you readily have the means. The phrase, or rather slogan at this point amongst the collecting universe, I'll just wait for the next version. I'll just wait for NART. I'll just wait for the 2.0. That is shaping up to be a never-ending moving of the goalposts, meaning as soon as you think that you're getting close to getting the definitive version of a character, another one comes out, and then you're all the way back to the beginning of deciding which actually is the definitive version, or if you should hold out for a better one. So here is some friendly advice. Stop chasing and start enjoying. If you're willing to accept that a new and improved version of your favorite character is in fact inevitable at some point, and you will eventually cross that bridge when it does eventually happen, you can actually collect figures instead of hopes and dreams. And believe me, that's a lot more fun. I see this so often in our community, people saying that they want X figure, but I'm waiting for an updated version, and I don't want to get this one and have it be inferior. Well, I hate to play spoiler and Debbie Downer for you, but the new and improved version for almost every figure at this point is going to be right around the horizon, as I said, in a never-ending cycle. So how do you get around that? How do you deal with it? I think, and of course this is my opinion, so if you think I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments, but I think it's as simple as this. Buy the best version you can afford now. Except a new version will be coming out at some point to improve your display. And if it is worthy of upgrading, then upgrade. But you may be asking, what about all the sunk costs I just put into this older figure 2 years ago? Well, let's use the DX19 Batman, for example. Let's say that you bought that one for retail around $300. That was all the way back in 2022 when it was released. But now, a new, updated version, which is 2 years later, in every sense of the word of that figure, is now coming. But you'll be saying, hey, now wait! That figure's locked behind a paywall. I can't update my figure unless I pay more for the armory, and even if I did, I will never make my money back. Well, that's my point. You're going to need to accept that if you must have the latest and greatest. Okay, so you bought it for $300. Maybe you sell it for $150 to someone who, for them, this is the best version that they can afford. So you lost $150 or $75 a year. Think of it like this. That's for $650 a month, less than one fast food value meal for 2 years. That figure brought you joy. Is that not worth it? Are you a collector or an investor? And before you say, well, I can't do that, it's absurd, I have 100 figures that will need to be replaced, and that's thousands lost at that point. Well, here we are again in this vicious cycle at point 1. You can't catch them all, as I said. You still confused? Well, I guess you need to rewatch this video from that point. And don't worry, the timestamps are down below. Well, that's it. That is going to do it for us here today. But what did you think? Are you ready for this new age of collecting? Have you accepted it and already altered your collecting habits to be the best prepared that you can to continue collecting? Or am I off base and I'm just out here fear-mongering for videos and clicks? Please let me know that down in the comments below. And as always, you better be ready for more content coming to this channel, of course, by making sure that you are subscribed. Smash that like button while you're down there if you forgot to do it at the beginning of this video, and let me know your most desired pre-order that you do have waiting to be released. I'll be responding to all your comments as soon as I can, as always, and I'll be seeing you so much sooner than later in our next video.